Welcome. Well, let's get you started on your college application essays. Do you even know what a resume is? Hopefully you do, but sometimes people aren't familiar with that term. It's also known as your activities list, but a little bit more full than that, because there is just so much riding on all of this. At the same time, I know that there's nothing worse than knowing you got to write about yourself. Everything's screaming how important it is. The rest of your life hinges on this essay. So there's like no pressure, and you're sitting there going, oh, what do I do? During this talk, we're going to leave that horrible feeling in the pit of your stomach behind. It's going away. We'll talk briefly about the role of the essay in admissions, determining your message, the types of essays. We're obviously going to talk about resumes. And then I'm going to lead you through some brainstorming exercises to get you actually started and give you instructions on what to do next as far as your essay development goes. I'll do the same thing with your resumes. So you're going to be on your way to putting together a fantastic college applications so you can stand out from your peers. Allow me to introduce myself, and then we'll get right to it. I'm Katherine O'Brien, and in 2004, I founded Celtic College Consultants, and I've had the privilege of serving high school students across the country ever since, preparing for college, getting to know what they want to do, finding their voice, finding the right campuses, right programs, and the money to make it all work. It's just been a delightful thing to do, an opportunity that I've had. I have a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering from Northwestern and a master's degree in theology from Franciscan University of Steubenville. And that means that I can do math and I know how to write all at the same time. But it really helps me plug in with the STEM students as well as the humanities and arts students. I've spoken to countless students and parents and really advocate for students to have a voice. I've written 3 books. They're all available on Amazon. The Ultimate Guide to Top Quality College Planning is to help parents figure out what's going on in the whole college planning world and college consultants. And there's so many names and sets of training and services people offer and price points and all of that. So I wanted to give parents a tool to learn about all of that. So that's a short book I wrote that's available on Amazon. I've created 2 college guides, just like the College Board and the Barron's Guides. But these are specifically for Catholic students to help them find campuses with the kinds of Catholic ministries that they're really looking for, whether they want a pervasively Catholic campus or they're looking for a Catholic dorm or a really vibrant campus ministry, that kind of thing. So that's what those are about. They're all available on Amazon. I've had students across the board get accepted to all kinds of schools, so I don't just specialize in working with a certain kind of student. And I really focus on putting together lists that are going to serve my students. So I don't just go for the big name schools by any stretch. I really want to see each student on a campus that's really going to help them grow the most. Okay, so let's talk about what we're talking about when we say resume with regard to college applications. It's really helpful to prepare this, and ideally you'd prepare it starting from the summer of 8th grade on and kind of update it every 6 months. But I understand not everybody remembers to do that or realizes they should be doing that. So this resume has a number of purposes. It's to track all the things you've done outside the classroom, how much time you spent on them, hours per week, weeks per year, how many years, what are the significant events and achievements? What are your contributions to that group effort for the group efforts? It can be formatted formally and then submitted as an addendum to your application. And some schools are being more proactive about asking for them. In the past, sometimes you would kind of send that like in the mail, you know, that the mailman brings the paper mail, in addition to applying online. And that was a little bit awkward. So I've been happy to see more colleges incorporating adding a resume. Okay. And you want to have it anyway. It's could also be an informal one. I usually have my students prepare both because the informal one is going to have more description. And that's where I met Janie and we did this amazing thing and it led to this. And we, you know, fed all these hungry students, and then we're able to help them learn to read better or whatever it was. And from that we have this annual run and we raise money and do all these things. And sometimes there's just not enough space to write all of that in a formal way, but in the informal one, you can gather that kind of information and remind yourself, oh yeah, I met Janie, it was sophomore year, not freshman year, and this and that. Oh yeah, and I was working with Louie and that was happening freshman year, and those sorts of things. And also those connections with different people that happen, just different events, significant things that you did. And sometimes you do so much leadership in so many different ways, you can't remember which you did where and what were the impacts. Or, we did this fundraiser 3 times and I don't remember how much money we made each time. But it was kind of like, so if you could record that as you go, then you'll have more accurate records and we go, wow, altogether we made $10,000 and that's pretty amazing in 3 years. I didn't realize we did that much, et cetera, et cetera. Those kinds of things. So what should you include? Your activities, anything you're doing outside school, any specific accomplishments that you have, and any awards that you got, academic or otherwise. It could be leadership, it could be character awards, it could be athletic proficiency, it could be winning competitions, that kind of thing. Athletics, certainly you want to include your athletics on there, whether they are through the high school or their club athletics or pre-Olympic or whatever. Leadership. How are you leading? It could be one-on-one mentoring. It could be leading a group. It could be starting an event. It could be giving talks. It could be so many different things. So document it. And any employment should be included. And then significant summer camps, programs, and classes should be on here as well. These days with open courseware, we've got kids doing all kinds of classes and extra things that don't show up on transcripts, but then you've done it. And sometimes you get a certificate of completion and sometimes you don't. And where do you list all that? All that kind of thing goes on a resume. Okay. So that's where all of that goes. And you want to try to prioritize or group things. What are you going to be studying? Where do you have the biggest impact? What's most related to what you want to do? All those sorts of things come into play. There is a lot to talk about with the essay, so I'm going to leave the bulk of this for the essays. The 3 most important factors admissions considers are academics, academics, and academics. After that, extracurriculars and your essays are under consideration. There are 2 basic essay questions, no matter what the prompts are. Excuse me. First, why you? Who are you? What makes you tick? Why are you a great student for our campus? What will you contribute to our student body? Why should we accept you? There's a lot of other kids. Maybe I've got 50 kids here. They'll have similar academic credentials and courses and grades and scores, and I can accept 20 of them. Why should I take you versus somebody else? So that's the one piece. And then the other one is, why us? And some schools will ask very specifically, why do you want to come to our school? What's so great about us? And they're not looking for praise and adulation, like, oh, it's the best school ever, and I'm just so excited, and kind of like, I don't know, fangirl at a concert. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a critical analysis of their campus and what it offers and opportunities it has that you're really dialed into, that are just the right fit for you, for your personality, for the kinds of things that you're looking to do, your goals, all of that sort of thing. So why is the school right for you? So underneath all of the essay prompts, those are the 2 questions. You need to be yourself. The most important element in your essays, the admissions people will say over and over, and it's really hard to hear sometimes, it's authenticity. Be yourself. Don't try to think, what do they want to hear? Let me try to game the system. Be yourself. Your extraordinary, beautiful, creative, intelligent, athletic, artistic self. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Kids that get into top schools sometimes write about striking out in a baseball game. I mean, it demonstrates some things about who they are that other stories about them wouldn't say. So don't be afraid. Let your light shine. This is so critical. That's why I'm talking slowly, even though you're like, I want to do other things. We gotta be ourselves. Your goal is to convey who you are through these essays. Before you can begin to draft an essay, you need to determine your goal and your message. What is it you want to convey in the essay? Do you want to expand upon a crisis time? A turning point in your life, one that led to your deep interest in your proposed major? I'm working with a young man right now who, through various circumstances, found himself very lonely for part of his time. And then he had some things happen and he was able to make friends and grow quite a big network of friends and connect his various groups of friends. And that whole networking piece and creating community is so important to him because of that horrible time he went through freshman year. So he's classic for writing a certain kind of story to show that, and how he turned that from me, I need friends, me, to turning around and seeing, oh, you are lonely. You, I can see aren't hooked in. Let me go out and reach out to you. And then lots of community service. This is really driven to go out and change his community and make it a better place, a more welcoming place because of that experience. So that's a classic example of what I'm trying to talk about. And others, I've got another that I've worked with that his dad was a doctor, so he didn't want to be a doctor because he didn't want to be like his dad. But then he got introduced to something and he saw the power in the laboratory of being able to create medical devices and things that would help people and treatments that would help people. And he was so aware. He wasn't just thinking, if I give this device and it can, give the medicine in a certain period of time, or it can move the fluid from this place to that place because there's a duct missing or something, he's looking at, no, I want to give that provider an opportunity to take care of his or her family, or that parent more time with their kids, or that person the ability to go back and do that activity that they love that they can't do anymore. That's the empowerment that he's looking for. And so now he wants to be a doctor when he started, he didn't want to be a doctor. So those kinds of things, but you have to know what you want to say. What does admissions need to know? Now, so how do you figure it out? So for a few of us, it's obvious because it's just screaming, right? If you don't know this about me, whatever this is, you don't know me. You may know stuff about me, but you don't know me. So it's just like screaming to come out. They need to know this nugget about me. We'll talk more about how to figure out your goal in a minute. We're going to start with a couple brainstorming exercises that I've borrowed from the college essay guy. For the first one, I'm going to give you the instructions now, and I want you to take notes and then do the exercise later on. So looking at the screen, you can see that there's a collection of objects in the pink background. They bring a Caribbean or Hawaiian scene to mind. Breezy, the umbrellas and the palm trees and the hat and flip-flops. We're going to the beach. It's warm. We can almost smell the sea air, all of that thing. The other collection is more vintage style. This is Midwestern, older. This is just more earthy and at home. Very different feel. So here are your instructions. Close your eyes. Imagine a box. Inside the box is a set of objects. And each one of these is what I call an essence object for you. Each object represents one of your fundamental qualities. So each object is more than just an object. For example, on my desk, I have a bottle of cucumber melon scented hand lotion. It's old. It's not yet empty. It was my mom's favorite scent, and when she was still alive, she used to give it to me for my birthday. And I love the scent too. Bath & Body Works discontinued the scent several years ago, so I bought several bottles so I wouldn't run out. My mom was pretty demanding and not very affectionate, but she did like to give gifts and make things for people. So I treasure this bottle and I keep it on my desk because it reminds me of my mom's love for me. So that would be one of my objects. You get the idea? So later today, I want you to make a list of 20 Essence objects. Now, you're an infinitely complex and creative person, so I'm sure you could come up with hundreds, but limit your list to 20. When you do this, let your mind wander. And here's some questions that might help you along. What's the best book you ever read? Best money you ever spent? Your favorite word? In whatever language. When were you so embarrassed that you wanted to disappear? Have the floor open up and swallow you? What or who makes you laugh? When was the last time you cried so hard that your breath caught like it does when a little kid cries? And what mattered to you so much that it brought forth those deep sobs? What word or phrase do you love from another language? Like I like Giagwitch. It's Irish. It means God be with you. It's the way to say hello. And I love that. Blessing somebody, may God be with you. And that's how I say hi. It's just such a positive affirmation thing. What's your favorite photo or piece of art? So that's the exercise. I want you to do it later. And I want you might wonder what I'm doing here. Let me explain a little bit. Essay writing is a bit like painting or sculpting. So first you start with the right paints and canvas or the right clay. Then you start to build it up as you want and mold it from the clay, et cetera, et cetera. And these objects and their descriptions are going to be some of your clay. So I'm helping you prepare to tell your deepest story. When you do, it'll feel vulnerable. This is one thing you can do to test if your essay is good. When you read it out loud, if it sounds superficial or it could have been written by anybody, it's not your deepest story. Okay? So you want to think about that. It's not like anybody else who got injured or anybody else who went through the parents getting divorced or them having to move or changing countries or whatever it was. It's something specific to you. Aha, now I found it. Okay. Give it our limited time. Let's move to an exercise we can do together. The purpose of this exercise is to take you deeper, to explore how experiences and needs led to various feelings and needs that you worked to meet in creative ways. If that didn't make any sense, it's okay. It will by the time we're done. So please get out a blank piece of paper. It could be notebook paper or plain printer paper. Turn it sideways and then draw 5 lines vertically. So you end up with 6 columns of approximately equal width. At the top of the first column, you want to write challenges. If you haven't really had significant challenges in your life, then maybe write experiences instead. At the head of the second column, write effects. In the third one, you want to write feelings. The next column over, needs. In the 5th column, write what I did or actions I took. At the top of the last column, write values I gained. So I don't have the vertical lines here on the screen, but you can see all the headers. Challenges and experiences, effects, feelings, needs, what I did, and values I gained. I want you on your piece of paper in the challenges column to write 1, 2, maybe 3 challenges you've experienced in your life. If you don't have those, mention a few significant experiences. Some examples like moving frequently. So maybe you don't have a real place to call home, or you have an eclectic group of friends located all over the world. Being introverted, or experiencing racism, or crime, or violence, or a natural disaster. A significant illness, maybe a car crash, an injury, disability, sibling rivalry, being rejected, any of those kinds of things. Then pick one In the second column, write down a few things that happened to you as a result of one of your challenges. What are the repercussions? For this column, focus on the negative effects. The positive ones will go in column 4. And one challenge can definitely have several repercussions. So it might be like, I broke my leg skiing. That meant that I had to sit out the season in my sport. It meant that I couldn't go to the dance that semester. And I couldn't stand up in my cousin's wedding because I was in a wheelchair or whatever. I couldn't travel. Okay? So it's that kind of thing. Pretty basic. And the next column, jot down how you felt. And you can have different feelings around each one of the repercussions. For example, I wasn't able to participate in sports, but my grades got better. So that was really cool. And I didn't feel so much pressure. So that was really good. But I was sad and I missed the camaraderie of the team. And I was kind of lonesome. So there's kind of a mix there of how I was feeling. And I emailed you before this the feelings and needs exercise. Actually, I didn't. Sorry. I do have lists that will help you with this. You can always email me. I'll give you my information at the end. Okay, so after you've gotten some feelings down, and you'll want to probably do this again at more time later. I just want to get you started with some things, so I'm going to give them to you here. And then the next column, what need wasn't being met? So I was sad because I was missing my teammates, and the need not being met was my friendships weren't getting nurtured. My sense of community and ability to help others and be helped by others, I couldn't meet that need. My need to be there for my cousin who was so special for me, but I couldn't be in her wedding because I was still in the hospital having surgery on my leg. So that family tie need wasn't met. And some things are very predictable. So take a little time with this later on and think about what emotions or needs that came out related to this experience or challenge might actually surprise somebody. It might be something you skip over because we're going to start with the obvious things and the big things. But it's still there. It's just a little deeper within you. Because remember, you're ultimately going to end up with an essay that not everybody could write. So, everybody that's broken their leg or had an injury and missed some sport team time, there's a lot of commonality there. But then each one is unique in some different way. So what are those unique things about how you were impacted by and felt, and what needs didn't get met for you because of this challenge or experience? Then I want you to write about the skills, values, resources that you developed during this time. Like, I learned to make new friends, or I learned how to study better because I had more time to work on my study skills because I wasn't at practice all the time. Or I noticed the difficulty in mobility issues, and I'm much more of an advocate now for ramps and power doors and all that kind of thing. Things that I'd never noticed before, the challenges handicapped people face. I also have a list of things here that I could share with you later. So remember to try to pick some things that I won't be able to guess on my own if you told me that you had to face that challenge that you're writing about. And how you met those needs that were unmet. Maybe you didn't realize the connection. So it could be that the activity was helping meet a deeper need. For example, I mentioned earlier that I mentioned my mom was pretty demanding, but I was also pretty socially awkward when I was in high school. And so I was kind of lonesome. So the combination of those two led me to be involved in everything in the high school. I was literally there from 6 or 7 in the morning till 10 p.m. every day. And for years, I thought it was because I liked doing those things. I liked being the editor of the paper, and I liked being in theater, and I liked playing golf, and this and that and the other. And I did like those things, and I could feel good about doing them, and I had some connection with other people. But it was only when I thought about it more deeply later on that I realized I was really meeting my unmet needs for affirmation that I wasn't getting at home, and encouragement that I wasn't getting at home, and I wasn't getting kind of generally around by peers. And then column 6 is other values I gained. So in the example I was just sharing, by running the school paper, I not only met my need for intimacy, but I also learned how to prioritize ideas, how to effectively present them to others. I learned how to break a project up into tasks, how to delegate those, as well as how to motivate other students who often weren't as interested in the paper as I was. So they got their stuff done and they did a good job on it. So my mom's intensity and demanding style actually helped me develop the skills I needed to be a good mother of 6, and then as well as passionate, empowered teens to be their best selves. So spend some more time on this later and work through all of the challenges that you listed. Another way that this exercise could be used in your essay is along this line. How do the challenges from my past connect to my future career? I think you just saw a little bit of how that ended up connecting for me. You experienced challenges which had particular effects on you. They impacted you in certain ways. Through those challenges, you took action. As a result, you developed certain resources, skills, and values and sensitivities. And those resources, skills, and values will serve you well in your chosen career field. And if you're not sure what you want to do, when you have that list of values I gained, those resources and skills and values and sensitivities that you gained because of these experiences you had, take that list and say, so this would be a great description for a person who does what? You know, maybe you're patient and gentle and you have a really good memory and things like that. That's really good for a pediatrician kinds of thing. So it might help you figure out the career question. And this will help you write a narrative essay. So we'll talk about that. There are 2 main essay formats. So the patchwork quilt or montage or medley format, where you've got all these little bits and they come together in a pattern and there's a theme that connects them, but they're all different bits. And then you have the narrative or story or timeline. So let's talk about these a little bit more. So the narrative or story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a series of causes and effects. You saw the feelings and needs exercise was leading you right through how to tell a story and break it open. Okay? And these are really effectively used by students who've had significant challenges and or turning points in their lives. And remember that a good story has a lot of detail, a lot of descriptive words, so you can really picture what's happening. So you can pull some of those essence objects and those descriptions to help tell the story. The patchwork or montage medley essay, it's a sharing of a collection of tidbits about you, but they're all related in some way. You know, kind of like a cookbook. It's all recipes. It all has to do with food, but they're all sorts of different kinds. So that kind of thing where you'll have a theme, some kind of value or strength or something to you, sensitivity, and then all of these little vignettes, little pictures about you that tell something about you will get tied together to write this essay. And this is well suited for students who have not had a significant challenge in their life so far. So at this point, you actually have a framework for writing your essays. You know the importance of setting a goal for your essay, so you know what the message is. We've talked about determining your message a little bit, and just looking at my notes going, I was going to say more about that and I'm not seeing it, so I want to make sure I say more about that. You want to look over your whole application. You've got all of these activities that you did. You've got all of these grades and courses that you took, these awards and honors that you have. You know, they know that you live in a certain place and you have a family of whatever size, shape, etc. And then what makes you stand out? They know what kind of major you want to go to. What else do they need to know? So that's one way definitely to assess what your message is, what needs to come off the page, so they understand why somebody with this coursework or these interests wants to go do that thing. What's motivating you? What's driving you? What's makes you stand out from your peers to go do the thing with that special uniqueness that you've been created with. Okay, so let's look at next steps for your essay. Because as you know, we're at the brainstorming phase, then there's drafting and revising and editing. So you need to look at your overall requirements. You may be writing 1, 2, 4, or more essays for each school or application. That will help you evaluate your message and determine your essay style or styles. So you may have 4 essays and you look at your application, you say, okay, well, this is here, that's there. Okay, so I need to convey, and you prioritize. What is the most important thing you need to make sure that admissions knows, and next, et cetera, et cetera. Those are your goals for your essays. And then you look at the opportunities they're giving you for writing, what lines up where. Then you start drafting. Then you select your prompts, because you want to tell your best story and you want to convey your message in the best way you can. And then you can tailor that to the prompt. When you read the prompts, you'll see that they're fairly general. And having conveyed your message in a good story, in a solid narrative or a solid montage style, you'll find that, oh, this I could easily adjust it to fit to this prompt or that prompt. And that's what you do. The prompts are not where you start. You start with your message. Then you want to refine your essays. And then you need to do a holistic application review. Do all the pieces and parts come together? Are there any holes? Are there any questions? Is there anything else that really needed to get said? And then you submit your applications. So having someone help makes an enormous difference. It's best to not have a parent be the person helping, because they know us too well, and they tend to fill in gaps in events that we retell and all that kind of thing. So it's vital that someone who was not present review your essay. English teachers are wonderful people, and you may have even had your teacher have you write some of these essays at school, and they can help, but your personal statement, your other application essays are non-academic writing. They're unlike the assignments you complete for your English courses. And certainly peer-reviewed. You're not going to tell your deepest story in a peer-reviewed essay in class. That's not happening. So this is really something between you and then an anonymous person in admissions to really share your heart. And you need somebody who can help you do that, that's trustworthy, knows what admissions is looking for, but isn't so close and isn't academically focused. So I can help through the process. If you would like, I have some essay bundles. This is my normal pricing, but I've actually got some special pricing that I've put together. I've been doing this since 2004, and I'd be happy to assist. If you would like to schedule me to work with you on your essays or have a consultation to discuss anything, please go to CelticCollegeConsultants.fullslate.com, and you can schedule an appointment, and we'll schedule that first essay working on time. And we'll start with looking at where you're at, and we'll move from there. I really want to encourage you. Whoops. Oh, yeah. I wanted to share about Stephen. Actually, this isn't supposed to be here. Okay. Stephen did great things, but anyway. I want to encourage you to not procrastinate. Essays take time. It's like making wine or cheese. They just take time. They need some time to sit on the shelf and age. They need some time to get looked at again, revised, looked at again, revised. So do not procrastinate. You want to leave yourself lots and lots of time. You're going to be surprised, and not in a good way, when school starts and you find that you still have essays to write and all of that schoolwork to do. Oh my. So your authenticity is paramount. Anything rushed is really not going to have your voice. It's not going to tell your deepest story. Take time to explore your thoughts and feelings. Take time to articulate your thoughts clearly and vividly. Again, CelticCollegeConsultants.fullslate.com to select the essay package you're interested in. If you'd like assistance, schedule the first appointment. If you don't find a time you like, schedule one anyway. Just drop me an email and we can adjust the schedule. or if you'd like to explore my website or anything else that I have to offer. I am so glad that you have invested in this program, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.